All right. Are you ready? All right. I call to order the Gladstone City Council meeting for February 13th, 2018. It's 6:31 p.m. Hello, everyone, and happy, I think it's called Fat Tuesday. It's Mardi Gras. You wouldn't know it with the freezing cold weather that we have outside. But I am in a very happy mood because I saw snowflakes on the forecast. So that's okay in my book. And tomorrow's Valentine's Day, so I want to make sure that those that need to remember that. Don't forget it's Valentine's Day. Tonight on our agenda, the consent agenda is approval of the January 23rd, 2018 minutes, approval of the monthly financial reports, approval of the January check register and bank balances, legal costs on projects, and the department head monthly reports. Regular agenda is going to start with a public hearing to amend the Gladstone Comprehensive Plan for the Downtown Revitalization Plan. Sounds redundant. Appointment to the Traffic Safety Commission. Consider Resolution Number 1135, repealing of Resolution 1124, and adopting a revised master fee schedule. Consider Resolution Number 1133, approving the referral of a ballot measure authorizing the construction agreement with Clackamas County for our new library. Consider Resolution Number 1134, approving the referral of a ballot measure authorizing the city to sell specific surplus property. Consider an amendment to the Clackamas County Gladstone Library settlement and an update from the school board representative. Tammy, could you please call the roll?
Haley.
Oh, excuse me, Haley.
Counselor Milch.
Present.
Counselor Neese. Present. Counselor Tracy.
Present.
Counselor Reisner.
Present.
Counselor McMahon.
Here.
Counselor Mercero.
Here.
Mayor Stimple.
Here. Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any agenda additions or corrections?
No, Mayor, thank you.
We would like to have an introduction of our new county planner, please.
Yes, so Melissa Ahrens is going to come up, and she is going to tell you briefly about her. She just started about a month ago. That's fine, perfect, yes. And as you know, Clay has transitioned out of the Gladstone position, and Melissa has just recently moved here from California, and she will be assigned to Gladstone.
Hi, nice to meet all of you. I'm coming from California with over 8 years of land use planning experience in both state and local governments and private consulting. I'm excited to work with all of you and work for the City of Gladstone and look forward to the future. Let me know if you have any questions at any point. I have cards. I think Jackie has them, and I have more with me I can leave on a table today.
Sure.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Yep. Welcome to Oregon.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right, so now we have business from the audience.
Kathy Jefferson.
I didn't put the agenda item because I didn't have an agenda, but it's the one about the downtown stuff.
Do you want to wait and speak when we bring that up, or do you want to just go ahead and do it now? It's your choice.
I'm confused.
Well, you have the option of doing business from the audience now, which is general, or speaking when we talk the specific agenda item. Okay. Thank you.
Bill Osborne.
Bill Osborne, Gladstone, Oregon. I'm here tonight talking about a January 22nd complaint that I filed about the illegal meetings that have happened here in Gladstone. The city's not responded to me at all, and I'm kind of curious as to why. There was two different complaints and two different incidences that were fairly publicly known here in town. Both of them violated the public meeting laws, and we had a was at a volunteer orientation where Ms. Driscoll actually went over public meeting laws and perception and things like that. So I found it a little ironic that the city thought we should know about this, while things that have happened here just seem to get ignored. Now, I've said it before, we expect you all to set an example. That's what leaders do. Nobody's expecting punitive things happen, punishment, anybody to be thrown off the council for the violations that had happened. It would be nice if they were admitted, if people that did so apologized to the community for violating the law, and if there was some sort of a process in place. I did meet with Councilor Milch and talk to him a little bit. I was going to meet with some of the other of you. I believe we need a process in place for the future when this happens. The last incident just kind of got swept under the rug. You guys all met out of public view, and after that point, nobody was talking about it, nothing was being done. We expect those who are setting down laws for us to follow the law. And when you guys break the law, and nobody seems to care, not even so much as for the city to respond to formal complaints, that's just not leadership. And that's not what we look to you guys to do. Again, we expect you to set an example. And I don't think this is a good one. So I would like to see some sort of process put in place so that in the future, these type of things, if they happen, they're addressed. Because essentially Oregon law, right now, gives 60 days to a private individual to hire an attorney and spend tens of thousands of dollars out of their pocket in order to seek justice. And I think that's wrong, and I'm pursuing a change at the state level on that as well. But certainly at the city, things move a lot quicker than state. And I would hope that you all would perhaps start a conversation, if you haven't already, and set sort of a process in place so that if this happens again, there is accountability. Because as much as I hear is we want to move forward, as a father of 6, the one thing I always taught my kids is if something happens, you have to admit your wrongdoing. You have to apologize, and you have to take steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. Because without accountability, and without any penalties, really what's to stop somebody from doing it whenever they want? So, again, I would like to hear a response from the city, or from the city's attorney or somebody regarding the complaint, and I would like to see a process you all could put in place so that there's accountability if this happens again to prevent it from happening again. That's all. Thank you.
No, thank you. That's
I have
fair.
a question. So clarification, we all, are you implying the city council in a body, as governing body, met in an illegal meeting, all 6 of us, all 7 of us?
No, there was 3 members on here. I didn't single them.
I think
it was before you were appointed, and it was
Thank you.
actually during the time when you and Councilor Milch were appointed. And you, I know, took a lot of flack because of something that was out of your control.
Understood, Mr. Osborne, but I think when you state we all, I think that the general impression is that the 7 of us have met in confined quarters outside of the public view, outside of executive session. I don't want that to be on the record because I don't believe that is true.
Right. I will clarify on that. There was 3 counselors that still sit here that were part of the last incident.
Thank
2 of
you.
them from the prior one.
Thank you.
So when I met you all, I meant you guys had a work session that was not open to the public. That's what I meant, where the full council met.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Mindy Garlington.
Hi all. Mindy Garlington, 7000 Debbie Court. I probably should have just sent a quick email about the first thing to Jackie, but I'm sorry, Miss Bed. On our website, there's still a few things that are kind of hard to find, and I'd like to see the Public Works master plans be listed under the community documents in both places, because they're really hard to find. Anyway, that's just for citizen, things. And then I never did find the downtown revitalization plan, so if we could see that too, that would be lovely. And then there was a lot of conversation on next door Gladstone about the water bills, and not much of it was good. In fact, there were about 100 people following the conversation, And I know there was some information that was sent out about the increase, but I couldn't find it to share with people to clear up the confusion. And I don't mean to make that sound like there was confusion, just to help people understand. Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that maybe what the documents that were there should be put someplace that we can get a hold of them so that we can share them with people on social media, because that's what people read when, you know, nobody's going to go dig their paperwork out of the recycling bin and say, oh shoot, I should have saved that. Well, it's long gone. That was last Monday. Okay. So if we could put some of the stuff that like the media companies put together for us in places that we can get our hands on it a little bit easier, so we could share it, because social media, you know, maybe not, it's not all good, but I mean, I know that even Mr. Milch follows it too, and it just would be easier just to say, here, look at this, rather than trying to explain right or wrong, which maybe some of us might not all know. Anyway, my last thing is there is a direct deposit, on page 33 of your packet. There's a direct deposit for $8,355.57, and that's a lot of money not to ask who that money go to.
What page is that on?
33.
Direct. Oh, here it is.
It says ACH direct deposit, final pay administration.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, anyway, it'd be nice if people could find out who we spent $8,355.57 on, and not just have it be somebody, anybody needs that kind of money. I would love
you know who that
means. It's a final paycheck for a former employee.
Okay.
Yes.
What I thought it was. Yeah.
Did you hear that, Mindy? Final paycheck for a former employee.
Thank you.
Brenda?
I'm Brenda Quinn Gable from Gladstone, and I'm here to represent the concerned cat people of Gladstone Rescue. Just to follow up from the January 9th meeting, I think it was, I think there was a question about funding from Clackamas County that Gladstone pays for animal rescue, and I just would like to find out if it's had an opportunity to be explored.
I have not had that. I don't have that answer yet, but we thank you for reminding me. I actually have a question here in my pile related to that. So.
Thank you.
Bob? Sorry.
Bob Everett. Live here in Gladstone and work in Gladstone also. Anyway, I'm just here again tonight to representing the Gladstone Senior Center Foundation. Just a reminder that on March the 6th there will be a let's see, I'm trying to remember the exact wordage, but basically we'll be pouring beer.
That's
at
March 6th?
March 6th, yes, from 5 until 10, past my bedtime. And I'll be pouring, we'll be pouring beer at the Oregon City Brewing Company, which is catty corner from Tony's, and right across the street, or next door to Spicer's. And it's a fundraiser for the foundation, and it is a Tuesday night, so if anybody would like to attend, feel welcome, come on along, and we do get a percentage. The foundation will get a percentage of that, of whatever we do. Anyway, thanks so much. Okay.
Thanks for doing that.
You bet.
The seniors. We can do more of that.
The library board to have their meeting there.
Great idea. Next.
That was our last one.
Wonderful. Thank you. So the next item is our consent agenda. Do we have any issues, any questions, any concerns?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items 1 through 5.
A second.
Motion was made by Councilor McMahon, seconded by Councilor Tracy. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passed. Do we have any correspondence?
I have none, no.
All right. So before we proceed with the regular agenda, I'd like to say a few words regarding the City Council. And some of you here could probably recite this along with me, so I'm going to mix it up just to confuse you guys. As always, I want to make sure everyone understands our limitation. And I think first, the most important limitation is that us sitting up here, the 7 of us, represent you, not our own personal agendas and beliefs. It's important that you understand that. There have been so many times when a decision being made doesn't align with our personal beliefs or desires, but we listen to the citizens and we've gone another direction. We listen to you, we're available, and that's why we're here. That doesn't mean that our personal beliefs have changed. It's just that we've listened and acted accordingly. As we discuss and consider matters, there are laws and rules we have to use as the basis of our decision. These start at the federal and state level, filter down to our city's comprehensive plan, city charter, codes, and ordinances. We do not have the luxury of randomly making decisions, but we have to be consistent, and the path we take has to be defensible. My goal is to keep this meeting respectful and engaging, and I hope you all can help us do this. Thank you. So the first item is number 6, which is a public hearing to consider amendments to the Gladstone Comprehensive Plan, specifically the Downtown Revitalization Plan. So just go ahead and open it, or do we want a staff report first?
Usually it's staff report.
Okay, staff.
Oh, I'm sorry, open the public hearing and then do the staff report.
Okay, so I open the public hearing to consider approving Ordinance 1486, an ordinance amending the Gladstone Comprehensive Plan, changes and acceptance of the Downtown Revitalization Plan as a guidance document for downtown development. It is 6:48 p.m. Staff?
You can go ahead and do 2 and 3.
Want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm to call for any abstentions from city councilors. Any of you need to recuse yourself? No? Are there any conflicts of interest from the city councilors? No. All right.
Okay. Thank you. So this evening, Jenny Lipscomb is the project manager for this grant that started in the summer of 2016. And so I'll let you go ahead and start, Jenny, and you can bring in Johnson Economics when you're ready for that.
Okay.
You get more than 3 minutes.
Oh, good.
Maybe.
Well, my name is Jenny Lipscomb, as Jackie said, and I was hired by the city to manage the project for this grant. Tonight I'm going to give you a high-level overview of the Downtown Revitalization Plan, which you each received a copy of, I think, within the last few weeks. The city also hired a consulting team to create the Downtown Revitalization Plan, and the team was headed by Johnson Economics, and we have Brendan Buckley and Darcy Radinsky here today that will be able to answer any of the detailed questions that you might have.
Okay, pull that and speak loudly.
Got it. Is that better?
I don't think it's on.
No, I think the wire makes it hard to, let me help you.
And do we have a control for the...
I'm trying to get it started. It's not starting on this page, on this screen for some reason.
Yeah. Check it, make sure that it's on, Michael.
Is it any different? Can you
hear it? Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure why. When I had this on the screen, it was doing the other thing.
Okay.
That screen be turned on because I doubt if everybody back there can see it.
Click.
Okay.
Jenny, we'll have to click for you over here.
Okay.
Sorry if you all can't see, but you can always shift around if you want.
Okay, so do you want me to just go ahead and start, Jackie? Okay. The agenda for tonight's presentation is going to be, I'm going to talk about the project background, which includes the grant application, project process, project vision, and then we're going to talk about the recommendations that are in the plan, policy actions, transportation projects, and economic development strategies, and then end up with council action that will be requested. In June of 2015, the city applied for a grant with Metro, and this slide lists some of the goals the city included in the grant application as desired goals of the Downtown Revitalization Project. The goals such as remove barriers for development, create positive change, more bike pedestrian friendly. These goals from the grant document were included in the development of the Downtown Revitalization Plan goals. So I want to talk a little bit about the project process. We started this process in June of 2016 and finished with the final draft of the document in June of 2017. Our first introduction of the project was at the Gladstone Community Festival in July of 2016. Subsequent to that festival, we organized the advisory groups. We had a citizen advisory group made up of 8 members that were appointed by the City Council. We had a technical advisory committee made up of 17 members, and those members were identified by the Citizen Advisory Committee and by city staff, and included Clackamas County staff, Metro staff, people in the city that represented different groups such as the Historical Society. And the final group was stakeholder group, and the stakeholder group was basically self-selecting. We, at the first public open house we had, we asked anyone that would like to be involved in the project to leave their email address, and we'd contact them and organize them to be part of our stakeholders group. So the people that were on the group had some time during the process indicated an interest in participating in the project. We had 2 open houses, one in October and one in February, and our October public open house was to kind of get an idea from the community of how they wanted the community to look and how they wanted this plan to go. And then in February we had some proposals of options for the plan and how the downtown would look, and discussed those with the public at that time. Okay. While the committees were being organized and having the first public meeting, Johnson Economics was doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Their job was to provide some existing conditions analysis. So they, in addition to the things that are listed on the screen, we also looked at the downtown Gladstone market analysis that was done in 2007, the transportation system plan that was done in 1995, and the Gladstone Downtown Parking Plan 2006, and the Portland Avenue Streetscape from 2008. We felt it was important to not just start at the very beginning. We needed to review the documents that had been created by the city and understand how those would impact the plan going forward. The market analysis was a pretty comprehensive piece of work that was done by Johnson Economics. And they reviewed a range of metrics, including they looked at current land uses and businesses, land values, property sales and development history, achievable rents and sale prices of developed and vacant land. They looked at vacancy trends, population and employment growth, construction costs and regulatory costs, business environment, perceived opportunities and barriers to development. And they also did an outreach to local and prospective developers, home builders, and real estate professionals to understand the dynamics and the practical considerations of development in the Gladstone market. So they did a pretty comprehensive job on doing the analysis for the existing conditions and for the market. As far as the general development conditions, they did generate a mid and long-term demand forecast for the major land use types, and then did a financial analysis that analyzed any gap existence between future land uses and building form envisioned in this plan and what the market may currently have. So any of the details of these existing condition analysis and the market analysis can be found in Appendix E of the plan for anybody that would like to look at the details. The process continued with the transportation analysis, and fortunately for us, at the same time we were working on this project, they were working on updating the transportation system plan for the city, so we worked in conjunction with them on any of the transportation issues related to this plan. Once all of this information was gathered, the project team came up with 3 concept plan alternatives. The first alternative really indicated little change for the city. There would be some striping on the street and not a whole lot of other things. Alternative 2 indicated more changes for the city. We talked about indicating bike lanes and changing the street look. And then the third option was significant changes, as an example of four-story buildings allowed in the downtown. So once we reviewed these options with all of our advisory groups, we landed on an option that was really a hybrid of option 2 and 3. So we took a few of the more dramatic changes, but in conjunction mostly with the changes that are relatively small. One of the things our consultants did, one of the first things they did when they came into town, was they walked the downtown and took some photographs of the existing Portland Avenue. So this is just a shot that just shows you what we're saying. We started out and this is how it looks. Obviously this is how it still looks, but yeah, okay. So the next one is, after the Citizen Advisory Committee was established, one of the first tasks was to develop a vision for downtown Gladstone. We think this vision statement literally gives the reader a vision of what the downtown could look like. It used words like unique, lively, and accessible, celebrates the history, accommodating residents, business, and visitors. Housing integrates harmoniously with a mix of restaurants, shops, civic buildings, vibrant destination, connection to Gladstone neighborhoods, the Clackamas River, welcome residents and visitors, easy and safe accessibility by foot, bike, and car. All of those words are pretty descriptive of what we heard from the citizens and what they wanted the downtown revitalization to look like. So the recommendations in the downtown revitalization plan fall into 3 groups, as you can see from the display here. The first group is policy actions, and tonight Council is being asked to act on items 1 and 3 that are on the list. But the remainder of the items require future Council action before they before they're accepted for the city. The transportation projects are listed, including a planning level cost estimate, and these projects will also need future Council action before they become part of the city plan. And the economic development strategies, which again will require further action before they're accepted as the strategy for the city. Now I'd like to just spend a little bit of time going into a little bit more detail on the plan itself. So the plan concept, a study area was identified from the Center for Children and Families at the north to Clackamas Street to the south and extending 1/2 block to the east and west of Portland Avenue. The plan that we have addresses the entire area, but the streetscape and the development focuses just on the downtown core, which is the area that's surrounded by blue on the map. The vision of the downtown, this is a conceptual drawing of what the downtown could look like if the plan were accepted the way it was proposed. And what you're looking at now is the same street view that we saw of the as-is street. The changes here would be, you can see a 19-foot sidewalk. There still would be parallel parking on both sides of the street. There'd be a shared lane for pedestrian for bikes and for bikes and cars. And it just kind of shows just a suggestion of what the development could be like if we went ahead with the plan. Development code changes. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through some of the development code changes, and we had 3 goals in mind when we proposed some development changes. The first goal was to encourage new development within existing heights. So we're recommending that we maintain the 35-foot height level, which is currently in place in the city.
Could you say that one more time so people can hear that? What's our current
maintained the 35-foot, 3-story height limit, which is what it currently is.
Thank you.
Reduce the minimum landscaping requirements. Right now there's a 20-foot requirement, and we're suggesting that we move it back to 5 feet, and then reduce the minimum parking requirements. So parking has been the most controversial recommendation in the plan. Some members of the committees and stakeholders group voiced opposition to a reduction in parking requirements. The members were heard, but the consensus of those involved was that the redevelopment of Portland Avenue required a reduction of parking requirements, and therefore the plan includes a parking reduction recommendation. Subsequent to the completion of the plan, a petition was presented to the city administrator opposing the parking recommendations. The petition also recommends eliminating 3-story buildings, but that provision is already in the development code and would take council action to change. The parking recommendations are a dramatic change from what you have right now, but this is what Johnson Economics team found was needed in order to incentivize development. So you can see we've listed existing standards for both residential and commercial, and then the recommended standards for residential and commercial. Citywide, basically, the recommendation would be to stay the same. For the C2 zone, right now, it is 1 space per 300 to 370 square feet of a building, or for commercial, and 1.5 parking spaces per residential unit. We're recommending a 1 space per 600 square feet for commercial and 1 space per unit for residential. In the downtown core you can see is the 300 to 370, again basically the same as the C2. We're recommending the commercial, same recommendation, 1 space for 600 square feet. We're recommending a reduction to 0.5 spaces per unit for the residential.
And for the C2, do you just mean the C2 that is included in the downtown revitalization plan, or is that the entire C2 throughout the city? I thought I read this to mean just the downtown plan, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So Brendan, are you going
to... Yes.
So parking was such an important issue, we wanted to kind of spend a little bit of time and go through a little bit more explanation of how we came up to the recommendation. So we've got a couple slides, and Brendan really has the detail on that.
Hi, I'm Brendan Buckley. I'm with Johnson Economics. I was part of the consulting team that worked on this, along with Angelo Planning Group and Kittleson Transportation Planners. So we had a pretty large, intensive group. And one of the things that we did in the earlier phases was we came up with some development concepts for different properties on the street, just to kind of model how development could happen now versus really trying to figure out, as we model it, what sort of the current rules and market constraints are limiting the type of development that you're seeing on Portland Avenue, with the goal of it was one of the original goals of the grant and of this program to kind of figure out how we might incentivize more and different types of development on Portland Avenue. So the graphics you're seeing here are just some of the sort of hypothetical studies that we did on development on Portland Avenue. This happens to be the current post office site, but these were all meant to be sort of theoretical developments, and so please don't take that too seriously or think that we're talking about any specific site. This is just a model of a 10,000 square foot site on Portland Avenue. So in this case, it shows sort of what can happen under current development rules. You see a pretty... Oh, thank you. What you see is a fairly standard 1-story retail building. It's a little over 4,000 square feet, and it, in this case, actually has, it's accommodating more parking than is actually required. It has 16 spaces, but this is a pretty standard type of development that you would see on a retail strip. It has a large amount of surface parking for a relatively small amount of built space. Next slide, please. And this is an example of the same site, but with sort of imagining what we might do or what we could do to get a larger building, get some mixed uses, get more activity on the street. And so this is a theoretical building that's mixed use with retail on the ground floor and office above. This building is 2 stories. It's, you know, it's I think you'll see that it's not hulking or huge compared to the last building, and I think a 2-story building would be very much in place on Portland Avenue. But at the same time, you are getting a lot more space and a lot more activity, and it's over twice the square footage. And so the big difference here is the parking, and that's really what these 2 examples are aimed at helping to demonstrate. So under the existing requirement, this amount of square footage would actually require 21 spaces, which you couldn't accommodate on the site in this way, essentially meaning that under the existing requirement, this development couldn't take place. So with this model that our architect team did, they were able to fit 16 spaces on the site. That's counting on-street parking under the current rules, which is allowed. And so what you see is that by taking a little step back and then required amount of parking, maybe you're able to see a slightly larger and easier, you can facilitate different types of development on Portland Avenue.
One of our other recommendations for parking involved the 2006 parking plan. In review of it, we recommend that some of the recommendations from that plan actually be put in place. The 4-hour limit, which is customer focused in Zone A, which is the red zone on the map, and in Zone B, there's no limit on parking. And then one of the other recommendations that was in that and that we concur with is that there should be an exploration of public parking lots in the downtown area. So the goal 2 of the development code changes was to clarify and improve standards for residential development. So what we're recommending is the downtown core with no residential on the ground floor. And we're saying that would be to encourage more activity on the street, that we would have businesses that would generate activity. Prohibit single-family, prohibit new single-family detached, and we're saying with that, we're trying to encourage a more density in the downtown area, and so by prohibiting the single-family, we would be doing that. Permit the residential outright, which is going to simplify the permitting process. And again, we're talking about reducing the setbacks and establishing design standards. And goal 3 was to enhance the design standards for commercial development, prohibit drive-through, and we're saying prohibit drive-through because that in downtown we're trying to encourage a more pedestrian-friendly downtown, and drive-throughs don't encourage that. No windows on the ground floor, more windows on the ground floor, which would make them the buildings more visually attractive, and then clarify the address or the entrance for the main location. Transportation projects. The transportation projects are, we have 3 recommended treatments on the street and 3 different recommended treatments. For the first, Abernathy to Exeter, we've got a mixed use, and we've got a treatment recommended for that. Downtown core, Exeter to Clareton, and then downtown core, Clareton to Arlington has a different treatment. What we're proposing for the corridor from Abernathy to Exeter is the width of the streets would remain the same and the sidewalks would be unchanged. We'd add bike lanes and remove the center turn lane, and the sidewalk improvements would just stay the way they are and just change as properties are redeveloped. So you can see from the chart here, we still got two 12-foot travel lanes. We've actually have a specific bike lane at this particular part on the corridor, and the 6-foot planting strip and the 6-foot sidewalk strip. For the corridor from Exeter to Clarendon, we are saying the street is narrowed at this point, and we're narrowing it because we want to allow for wider sidewalks. There'll be shared travel lanes, and we're going to still remove the center turn lane, and we're proposing that there'll be a festival street with curbless sidewalks. So you can see from the drawing that we've got a significantly larger sidewalk than on the earlier part, or the northern part of the street. The sidewalks were to encourage a lot of activity along the corridor in that particular part, so encourage if there are restaurants to have actually seating outside, and we just thought that that would generate more economic development. Then from Clarendon to Arlington, which is the last part of the corridor, it's going to be very similar to what's in Exeter to Clarendon. The only difference is going to be there'll be curbed sidewalks instead of the curbless sidewalks. So we wanted to give you an idea of the cost of these improvements, and what this is planning estimates, and there really does need to be a lot more work done before we can say definitively what the costs are. But we're feeling like these numbers get you into the ballpark of what it's going to cost to do the work. So in the mixed corridor, Abernathy to Exeter, for the 5 blocks, there would just basically be restriping and some minor type of work. That would be $1 million. For the downtown core, Exeter to Clarendon, we're recommending removing the tracks and repaving, in addition to making some of the other changes that are on the streetscape. So that's about $3 million. And then the Clarendon to Arlington, we are talking about, again, removing the tracks and repaving, and that would be a cost of about $1.3 million. So total for all of this project work would be $5 million.
Jenny, and just to clarify, for people who don't see tracks and don't know what you're talking about, can you just explain when you say remove tracks, where they are?
Sure. So there are still trolley tracks running down Portland Avenue, and the feedback that we've heard, I don't have the transportation planners with us tonight, but through the process, my understanding is that this is the tracks are causing issues on Portland Avenue, long-term issues with drainage and just the effect they have on the street. And bottom line is eventually, you got that going on. Eventually, you want to take ancient tracks out of the street if you have an opportunity. So, what the plan is recommending, and the difference sort of in these pricing levels, is that we recommend that you can sort of keep the same widths, street widths and so on, north of Exeter, and really change the street by doing some restriping of the street, and you don't have to rebuild it. And that's why those costs are lower. The recommendations for the downtown core section involve rebuilding the street, and again, through the process, we've learned that there's really is no way to extend the sidewalks, do anything more extensive at all without triggering the need to rebuild the street, and that's why the costs are higher there. And then, again, as Jenny was saying, the 2 blocks from Exeter and Clarendon have the full sort of plaza festival street treatment to really create a sense of place, and that also has additional costs.
And the last part of our recommendations include economic development strategies and other actions. On our list, we've got a storefront improvement program. I don't know if anyone knows what that is. A lot of communities have done a program like this, and what it does is it actually provides funds to property owners in order for them to improve the facade of their business, and that's been successful for a lot of different communities. Downtown Business Association, you had at one time kind of, I think, an more informal type of downtown business association. We're saying that maybe that should be kind of more formal, something that the council actually approves of. Marketing and branding, we think that's an important part of this. Wayfinding, we heard from a lot of people that part of the problem is, one of the problems are no one really knows where downtown Gladstone is, and we need some wayfinding in order to get people into downtown Gladstone. We think that it's important to pursue some opportunities for off-street parking, because parking is a very significant issue here. And during the project, we found that we understood that we were pursuing the Library City Hall redevelopment. We think that's really going to be very important to downtown revitalization. And then we heard from a lot of people that they were really anxious to have the trolley bridge connection and the bridge replaced so that we've got the connection over to Oregon City. So this slide, I just wanted you to take a look at. This is a slide of a storefront redevelopment, so you can see what it looked like before and after, and this would be something typical that would happen with a storefront redevelopment program. Well, I hope this presentation has given you an understanding of the process employed and the level of public involvement over 18 months and the expertise provided by Johnson Economic Consulting Team. The next step in the process is to act on Ordinance 1486 so that the city can continue the downtown revitalization process. So what we're asking today is there's approval of the ordinance, and if you approve the ordinance, you will amend the Gladstone Comprehensive Plan with the text changes in Exhibit A. You'll amend the Comprehensive Plan map, which is Exhibit B, and you will accept the Downtown Revitalization Plan as the guidance document for downtown redevelopment. A couple things I wanted to add to that is the Planning Commission did recommend changes to the comprehensive plan, and they are indicated in your Exhibit A. And then I wanted to reiterate that approval of this ordinance will not change any part of the development code or approve any other plan recommendations without City Council action.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Or do we want to hold that until after we have public testimony?
I've just got one, just a clarification. In your estimate, the $5 million I think you mentioned, okay, for the south and north sections, okay, does that include the replacement of the infrastructure underneath the street?
Yes, that includes replacement of the water and sewer infrastructure.
Okay.
Oh, it does.
There are no assumptions of undergrounding electrical utilities. It doesn't include that.
Okay, but the big ticket items it does.
Yes.
And what we're doing, we're not approving those capital improvement projects. That's not a part of what we're doing. That's just out there for reference.
Right.
And just for clarification, being an engineer, okay, plan means you've got drawings to build all these buildings, and you're going to do this, 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 this. All we're really looking at, and what the citizens are looking at, is a vision of what the plan could be.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that's really important for people to understand. This is the initial stage to look at what the city could look like if everything is agreed to sometime way in the future.
That's right, yes.
Okay, and when would you expect money to even be asked for?
So can I add to that, because that's very good what I wanted to say. Haley, can you go back to slide 24 where it says recommendations? One more, sorry. And it talks about storefront improvement program, downtown business association, Main Street. Really, by the City Council adopting this as a guiding document, Metro has just notified us that there's now another grant available. By having this in place allows us to submit a proposal for more funding to maybe do a couple of those items that are listed up there under the recommendations. If we don't have a plan, we won't qualify for any grant fundings. And because there's a recommendation in here from the Planning Commission to not use urban renewal funds, we are very tied to what kind of funds we will have because we don't have the general fund revenues. Typically, cities do incorporate urban renewal funds in their downtown areas and do facade improvement programs. So if we don't want to explore having an urban renewal overlay here, then we do need to make sure that we're applying for this next 2040 grant cycle that's coming up to maybe start getting a Main Street program underway or to do storefront improvement program. And you can do all of those without changing your development code.
Right. We just need a plan.
Correct.
So they know we're serious about this.
Correct.
Since we're talking about money, a curiosity question I have is, mentioned in here that this is kind of that you used the Portland Avenue streetscape plan that was done about 10 years ago. And that was given about a $14 million price tag. So why is there about $9 million difference from then to now? Or is we talking different things being done?
You know, that's a good question, and unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the old plan with me tonight. I think I know the reason, but I guess maybe I don't want to put it out there because I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I was going to guess, I think it was because the other plan was talking about rebuilding the entire street, taking the tracks out and.
Well, that's what you're talking about doing too, aren't you?
Well, for 4 blocks, and then the northern portion, we were talking about restriping and trying to do it in a more economical fashion, not changing the width of the lane of the street or sidewalks or anything, so that it could be done without a full rebuild of the street.
Well, the other plan included from the high school, the other side of the high school, all the way down to the river, so it was a lot longer run of improvements. And we're not considering the money piece of this tonight anyway.
This is an excellent opportunity, especially with the new library going right here in this spot. To have a downtown plan, it's very exciting because there's so much potential on Portland Avenue. And I think that what we're trying to do is to stimulate that redevelopment without imposing on the business owners to have to do that. These are just conceptual ideas of what we could start doing in the downtown area, and it really allows us to continue to apply for grant funding to try to help the business and property owners obtain some of these goals.
Do we have any idea how much money in grant funding is available out there? Do we have a...
Metro, I think, is doing a $22 million grant cycle, but that's of course for all entities that apply to be divvied up. But, you know, even for Gladstone to get a small $500,000 grant of such is very valuable for us here.
Okay, well, we do have another opportunity to discuss this amongst the council, so I would like to go ahead and do public testimony now, if that's all right with you guys.
Okay with me.
All right, well, let's have public testimony then.
Kathy Jefferson.
My name is Kathy Jefferson. I live at 150 West, what I would call West Gloucester, so you know which side of Portland Avenue it's on. I rent there. You've answered some of my questions but I really don't understand how you are dividing the block. It's a half a block on each side of Portland Avenue. What if that divides a duplex in half? And I'm interested because I live right along there, and I think the dividing line is right in there someplace. Is it by lot size? You know, how many lots down? How is that decided? Am I in or am I not in? And I'm representing a very long time resident who is my landlady, who is a little elderly to get here today. But at any rate, we want to know, and what is meant here, and what about the parking? Is that street parking when you say one car or a half a car? Who owns a half a car? But anyway, that kind of thing. I looked at all the material. The senior center had a notebook this thick with a lot of this in it, and I could not delineate where that line was.
Well, they're not going to split a lot. They're not going to have a legal lot and half of it be commercial and half of it be residential. So it's going to be the whole lot is going to be one or the other.
And it's going to be commercial or residential. You're going to wave a wand and it's become commercial, and what happens to people that are living there?
It's either already residential or it's either already commercial. So the commercial zone already
as is
a half a block either side of Portland Avenue. That's how they.
Even though, well.
Yes. Even so, your 150 is probably far enough away that it's probably residential. But probably the lot next to you towards Portland Avenue is probably zoned in the C2 zone, the commercial zone.
Okay, thank you. That helps. What was my other? I had one other. I looked at the results of the survey that was in that great big long thing, and I noted two things. On one side of that page was, what do people generally like about Gladstone, and the things that attract people. A list of those things, iconic, just all the stuff that I love. I haven't lived here all that long. I just think it's a great little town. Anyway, on that side. And then there was the result of the survey with, it was something under 300 people who had actually participated. What surprised me about the graphic that was on there was, that's a small representation of the population, but the results seemed to reflect a very much larger. There wasn't a bunch clustered up here and a bunch more down here, and you'd think, oh, well, okay, that's old people, young people. It was not that way at all. It really surprised me. I felt like the survey it obviously had a great mixture of people with the same opinions, even though it was a small corpus. And I think we need to keep that in mind, and also understand that the iconic can go away when you do storefronts, and don't mess with the flying A service station. That is one of the best things in this town, and so you can do the other and have shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
When you look around, then some of the stuff that would attract people went away. Just keep that in mind.
Thank you very much. Should we be doing timers on these? Yeah. You need to do a timer. You forgot to do that. Thank you. Next.
Les Poole.
Good evening, Les Poole. I live right here in Gladstone. My briefcase has been heavy for weeks. I've been carrying the downtown plan with me. I almost have it memorized, and I'll soon forget a lot of it, but right now I've got a pretty good handle on it. And I come to you as a citizen, not as a planning commissioner, not as a member of an organization, but as someone with a background in property management. I'm not a developer in the sense of commercial development. I've worked primarily with residential properties. But I built roads. I understand how to move things. I spent 8 years in material handling. I've rearranged warehouses. I've moved Warren Industries and businesses. I don't normally come in here and give my resume, but I thought it was important because I'm the one planning commissioner that voted against the Transportation System Plan, the TSP plan. And my reasons are the reasons we hear this evening. My reason for voting against it was that one of the biggest issues we face is how do we redevelop? How do we make it more pedestrian friendly and bike friendly? And then how do we make it work? How much of the parking, how are we going to make it work? And as much as I'm for the 35-foot heights, I'm for redeveloping. I like a lot of what I see. I love the Festival Street idea. But I still see issues with parking that are unacceptable. And the idea of exploring a parking lot somewhere in downtown is a great idea. But we don't have 5 cents for that. We don't have a nickel for parking downtown. And parking is critical, not so much just for residents or for the people that are coming down here, but for all of the commercial vehicle traffic. Never heard anything really address that. When we go 3 stories high, and the concept sketches typically don't show that, but it would be ludicrous to not believe that the vast majority of redevelopment isn't going to be at 3 stories, and that we've never seen an example of what parking would be like with some 3 stories downtown. I saw a graph up there that showed our downtown parking, and then we saw the blue zone, zone 2. Those people are just going to love it. So we have not addressed parking. We've overlooked the commercial deliveries and the commercial issues of how we're going to get things in and out of there. So this issue that the folks keep talking about, this issue that I keep bringing up, hasn't gone away. And I'll conclude by saying that when confronted with it, the Planning Commission did nothing. Now, our decision was a recommendation on the concept. We weren't making any type of a binding decision. But when it came, that one issue of the 13 issues there was that traffic and parking and that half space per residential unit parking. And when we got to that, we eliminated it, and here we are today with absolutely no answers for it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Question,
Yeah.
how long have you been on Planning Commission?
Well, actually, April 15.
Okay.
Yeah. Time flies.
Oh, I know. It's just that it's been a 3-story building for as long as
Yeah.
I've been on Planning Commission,
I'm
and it's
certainly
never
not,
been an issue
I'm for
before.
that. I understand that's going to happen, so let's
Okay.
plan for traffic and parking for it.
Okay.
By the way, I do love the trolley bridge, and let's all make it happen someday.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Amen.
Sooner rather than later. Next.
Bob Everett. Did he put his last name on that one, Haley?
Yeah.
You put it on both of
It's on the
them.
first one.
No,
And
you
I
did.
apologize
You
for
put
that.
it on both of them.
Did I? Oh,
I
I see.
apologize. I
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
read
Alrighty.
what
Whew.
it said. That was my
Man,
fault. I'm
I
sorry.
thought I was going to be in trouble.
No,
I'll
I'm
be down
sorry.
here in the middle of the festival thing with, strapped up or something.
Everybody knows who Bob is.
Yeah, well,
Good Bob.
well, no. Anyway, I'm back, Bob Everett, and this time I'm representing my business and myself as a businessman. But first, I want to also I want to thank Jackie for the packets. Now, I don't have to jockey my head every time I look at the financial thing. I think that was a wise idea. Make it straight down the line. I can read right through it.
Good.
So it made it so much easier. I was getting a kink in my neck. I'm going to address 2 issues, and both of these issues were difficult ones that the Planning Commission had trouble with. One was urban renewal funds, and I was in complete agreement with the Planning Commission at the time concerning urban renewal funds. Although after that, I started talking to a number of business owners down in Oregon City, and one of the things that saved their hide many times was being able to borrow urban renewal funds and improve their businesses. Now, this was a borrowing. Now, they got low interest borrowing, and it was really sort of in my opinion, it was really sort of a win-win. Those urban renewals were paid back, the funds. On top of that, their business property went up in value, and of course they're paying more taxes. So the more of their taxes goes to the urban renewal anyway. So this is not if it happens, it happens, but I just think it would be a wise thing I've changed my opinion. It would be a wise thing to do. The second thing is parking. And of course, you know, again, this is what we talk about all the time here. But I'm going to speak from my own sort of standard, my own sort of building. And first off, I'm always a little confused about the parking codes anyway, because I look across the street again at the hairdressers, they have no parking. Happy had really no parking, and so everybody parked on the street. But all of our buildings along there on that side of Portland Avenue, we all have the requisite amount of parking. For instance, I have a 25,000 basically square foot, 2,500 I should say, I'm sorry, square foot building, and I have 8 lots, because there's supposed to be one for every 300 square feet. And so I'm supposed to have 8, and I've got 6 in front and 2 in the back. My parking takes up 3,700 square feet of my lot. My building's 2,500. If I build my building a little bit bigger, I've got to put another parking spot out there. So for me, when I look at that, I think 300 is a little onerous. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to really change off-street parking. There was all the people on the petition, and a lot of those people I know, a number of my patients, and I really respect all of them and all what they have to say. But from a business standpoint, it's very difficult for me to look and say, well, I want to improve my building, I want to build on, I want to do extra things, and I have to turn around and I got to put more parking in there constantly, and I don't even have the space. So now somebody can say, well, you can...
Time's up.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, that's all I'll say. So from that standpoint, and that's why I would like to decrease it a little bit. I'm not saying it goes to 600, but, you know, at least... Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Next.
That was all the cards I have for that.
I thought you had a big pile over there. Wow. You didn't put your card up.
My card up, I just didn't put it on.
You didn't put what on the card? So does he have a card over there?
He does from the general.
Yeah.
The first thing I wanted to say, I just said before, I noticed there was a couple people that pushed the time limit, and I really believe that on public testimony, it'd be nice if you guys just open that up more. I would hate for something very crucial to be missed because people's testimony was limited to 3 minutes. The Planning Commission, I went through the meetings when they went through this. They made some good recommendations, and I really hope that you guys accept those as they are. They had a lot of community input. A lot of people were there, and I think people thought they said their say there, and that's why there's not as many people here tonight, and they're assuming that's going to be picked up. So I just want to say that I hope you guys do pick up the recommendation of the Planning Commission. I think it made a lot of sense. And on the parking, if we do change the parking around, I know there's been a lot of resistance to head-in angle parking. Parallel parking is a skill which a lot of people don't possess, and if the people in front and behind didn't park right, even if we have X amount of parking spots, they may not be useful. I seen that when I was in front of the post office before the second Planning Commission that I wasn't going to go to over the revitalization program, and then I watched somebody try to parallel park and give up and drive off. So that's all I have to say. I just hope you guys follow the recommendation. Thank you.
And I want to remind everybody that we give you 3 minutes to come up here and speak, but that isn't your only option. If you have more information to give us, we would love to get it in writing so that it can be a part of our packet. So you do have the opportunity to provide us with more information above and beyond the 3 minutes that you have to speak here. All right, so next is to call for staff recap and or recommendation.
Did you have anything further, Jenny, that you wanted to reiterate? I mean, my only comment would be I would like the council to reconsider not putting without urban renewal money in there under item 10 and just leaving it silent. Parking is always going to be an issue in downtown, and you have to get creative with how people get to the places they want to be. And I think that you will see that yourself as a land use applicant for our new civic buildings when you say, oh my gosh, how can we need that many parking spaces? And it doesn't hit you until you as a developer are trying to do something and realize it doesn't pencil out. But for me, yes, I'm very respectful of the comments that were made in the process, but I've seen urban renewal done correctly in downtown areas be very beneficial, and I just wouldn't want the city to not be able to utilize that tool. They would still have to amend their plan to include that area in the urban renewal, but I would like to see it not in there.
Well, isn't urban renewal for economic development?
It
That's
is.
part of its purpose.
It's a revitalization tool to improve the property values in your area and around.
Yeah, that's what it's there for. Okay. So the next would be to call for a motion to close or continue the hearing. Would somebody make a motion, please?
Mayor, I'd be happy to. I'd like to make a motion that we close the meeting,
I'll second it.
the public meeting.
I second it.
I'm following the script. Isn't that's what the next thing is?
Okay, you guys, staff does want some time to speak? Okay.
Oh, you
so
do?
staff
Okay.
does want some time.
I heard it. No one deferred to
Yeah.
her, so, okay.
Apologize. I thought maybe we would get to it in your recommendation for approval or recommendation with changes. Darcy Rudzinski with Angelo Planning Group. I just wanted to mention that you do have before you the Planning Commissioner's recommended changes to the policies that were recommended as part of the plan, and that's Exhibit A. You've talked about some of those changes. Ms. Betts talked about the urban renewal change that Planning Commission made to the original policies. Talked also about the deletion of the reduction in parking requirements. That was a policy that was put forward, and the Planning Commission has recommended to strike that. Third change that they recommended to those the policies that are in your Exhibit A and that are part of the plan had to do with changing the designation of the area from a town center to a main street. And I'm not aware of the conversation that went with that recommended change, but I do want to let you know that the plan consistently uses town center, and town center is what Gladstone wants it to be, basically. We have a lot of description of what that means through the public involvement with this, developing this plan, the vetting kind of what's the vision for the area. So all of that kind of was town center, quote unquote, but it also has a meaning within the framework of the metropolitan region. Yeah. So it does have a meaning to metro, and it comes along with again, not anything prescriptive from the region, what you have to be if you're a town center. They have town centers that range in size from very small to quite large throughout the region. Gladstone's probably one of the smaller ones. But changing that means something within the hierarchy of the region. And it's not something that the community can just do without having ramifications for the region. So staff's recommendation is to maintain in that first policy the town center instead of Main Street, only because, again, it's consistent with the rest of the plan, which calls it a town center, and it's also consistent with how Metro has that designation on regional maps. Thank you.
And it doesn't mean that the city cannot work with the state of Oregon to have a Main Street program.
Right.
We still can be
designated. This is just in Metro's 2040 growth concept plan. This is a town center. Correct. This is not a Main Street. I don't think they have anything designated as Main Streets. It's all town centers.
No, there are main streets also, like
the growth plan in metros.
Like Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard in Portland is designated as a main street. So the confusing thing is that we have a nearby mall which is called Clackamas Town Center. It uses the term town center, but that's not Metro's use of town center. They mean something else. Okay. And we have downtown areas like in Oregon City. They've been part of a Main Street program to develop their area as a main street, yet they are not a Main Street under Metro's program. They are a city, a town center, I think, as well, or something else.
Okay. And West Glen is the same way.
Yeah, it's just a different layer.
So there are terminologies used by Metro to designate different kinds of regional areas that have similar characteristics. And they long ago put Gladstone's downtown, circled it on the map in an oval-shaped circle, and gave it a color on the code, which means that it meets the criteria of town center.
Yeah.
So I think the wording here in section 1 that we'll be looking at in a minute, it's the designation as a town center by Metro, which that's already been done. It also has characteristics similar to what one would call a main street by the same definition, and I don't know why they decided one over the other.
Okay.
But we can't change Metro's what they have already designated us to be.
Okay, thank you. Then do we have someone that would like to make a motion to close the public hearing? You are?
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion was made to close the public hearing by Councilor Neese and seconded by Councilor McMahon. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public meeting is closed. So now we are open for discussion.
Can I bring out a possible typo on page 6-12, number 2, the policy recommendations. Number 2, the before Gladstone. Is that something that shouldn't
Gladstone, it should be of Gladstone.
Oh, right.
Okay. All right, discussion? I think the air conditioning just cranked on.
It did. It feels good.
Do you want it on? Yes? No?
Spur. Sorry, guys. Get out your winter coats.
I'm in a wool coat. I'm good.
Yeah. Same here.
All right. Well, we have these. Go ahead, Neil.
Well, I was going to say is brought up in from the staff and also testimony in regards to the parking. I think that they all said it, in that it's a big concern, and I know it's also a concern of the library board, being that this is the proposed site for the new library.
It looks like that their recommendation is to strike number 13, so we wouldn't even include that.
So, well, yeah, but I'm talking about going from 1 to half.
Okay, well, they're saying reduce. We're not going to reduce the off-street parking. Doesn't this have to do with
I'm
just
talking about
parking?
on-street. Isn't that? Aren't they talking about on-street parking?
No.
Okay.
Total parking.
Or total parking.
Total parking, yes.
It's not going to be reduced. No, but it is.
None of this is, because that's still another step. So whether we approve this with 13 or without 13, that does not change the parking. We would still then have to go and do a
another study.
Code change.
Yes.
So that would be a lot more. So my preference would be to put it back in as a guiding principle.
Oh, I disagree.
And well, but
and
it's
then
my
deal
turn.
with it later.
I'm sorry.
But
I thought I was still talking. Go ahead.
But so that would be my. You were, and then I answered your first question, and I took off. So never mind. You go ahead. No, I answered your first question.
No, but that's true. This is only the starting point, and that is going to be further discussions and further motions, resolutions, code changes. So.
This is only a vision.
Yes. And I think it should stay town center instead of Main Street. I think Main Street is a completely separate thing. Number 3, change incentivize to encourage retail and mixed-use development. Perfect. I think we need to include urban renewal money because that's what it's there for. And I think we need to add back in 13. Would someone like to...
Well, I would say I agree with that. I agree with Councilor McMahon. I think that making, regarding the parking issue, just making code changes is, one of the simplest ways of trying to achieve this. But I think one of the things we gained from this whole process was the value of involving citizens in the decision-making process. Everybody everywhere would like to be able to park wherever they want, as long as they want, for free and not have anybody park in front of their home or what they consider to be their own parking spaces. That's how, the way we all look at parking. And in order to address the kind of issues that Dr. Everett brought up, of making, reasonable development pencil out without taking very valuable land and giving it over to the use of parked cars, which are only there a short percentage of the time every day, we need to see that as a very comprehensive issue that needs to be examined from the perspective of both the business owners and the people who work in the area. I think our city has tried to encourage city employees, for example, not to park near the businesses because we don't want to take away from parking for businesses because of the employees who work in the same area. I think we need to have almost as much community input on just the issue of parking as we do some of this other. And so I would like to see, a greater involvement of the community in that, and not try to solve it just by changing the code, but by looking at the possibility of paid parking. We didn't talk much about that. Limitations, why doesn't the coffee shop have a 15-minute pick up a coffee to go parking space that's constantly vacated so the next person can come in and do that? There's a lot of ways to address these issues, and I'd like to see us look at a broader approach to that.
Okay, and we'll do that in future meetings. So do we have additional discussion, or can I call for the first reading of the ordinance?
May I, Mayor?
Yes.
So, process-wise, I think it would be easier if we are going to make changes, because the recommendations of the Planning Commission are incorporated into Exhibit A.
Okay.
So by adopting the ordinance, you're adopting
their
recommendations. So there are several, and there's two different ways you can do it. You can, wholesale vote to remove those recommendations, and then you would amend the ordinance Exhibit A by removing the Planning Commission's recommendations. Okay. The other way you can do it is to go through and take a vote on each one of their recommendations, or the ones that you guys have discussed you think are pertinent. Vote up and down on each one of the amendments, and then vote on the ordinance as amended tonight.
Okay. Well, I think it would be cleaner if we could do it all as one, but I don't know if that's how you all feel.
Because there's only 4, I think it would be easier just to do each one and then just do a vote up or down at the end.
Okay, so could we start with a motion on number 1 to either accept or strike their recommendation?
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we strike their recommendation and change it back to as it was previously written, with it being designation of downtown Gladstone as a town center in the Metro 2040 growth concept.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Councilor McMahon, seconded by Councilor Tracy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 1 is stricken. Would somebody like to make a motion on number 3 to strike in their recommendation to change?
I think,
actually, that one's kind of nice.
Mayor, I'd like to make a recommendation that we leave it as the Planning Commission changed it to be to encourage retail and mixed-use development.
Okay. Do we have a second on that one?
I second that.
Motion was made by Councilor McMahon, seconded by Councilor Mercero, to go ahead and accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission to substitute encourage for incentivize. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Recommendation stands. And then number 10. Would somebody like to make a motion to strike their recommendation or accept it?
Sure, Mayor. I'd like to make a recommendation that we strike the word without and have it be to the aesthetic quality of the downtown with, so change it to with urban renewal money.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion was made by Councilor McMahon and seconded by Councilor Neese to change their recommendation of without to with. Any discussion?
Yes. I think the original language didn't make reference to
Correct.
urban renewal money at all.
I think you
So
leave it silent.
My preference would be to just put a period after downtown and and that would leave it open to whatever options those that Administrator Betts mentioned, or urban renewal, or whatever other options there may be.
Draw your motion.
I would be happy to withdraw my motion if we
All
can do
right.
it that way.
Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion then? Go ahead, you can make. Go ahead.
I would make a motion that we amend item 10 by removing the words "without urban renewal money" and putting a period after the word "downtown."
I second that.
Motion was made by Councilor Milch, seconded by Councilor Mercero, to strike the recommendation of addition of "without urban renewal money" from the Planning Commission recommendation. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then the last item is 13.
I move that we accept the recommendation to strike number 13.
And I'll second that.
Motion was made by Councilor Reisner to strike item 13 and seconded by Councilor Neese. Any discussion?
So that would keep it the same as written, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hold on, I'm confused.
Well,
So I would
keep it
No.
as is
recommended?
As
As recommended.
by planning, which means to get rid of item 13.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I feel like I did discuss a little earlier, but I would oppose this change. I like the concept of examining the possibility of reducing.
So maybe we'll do a roll call vote for this one,
yes.
if that's all right. Haley, could you do a roll call vote on that one? Remember, a yes means that we are striking 13. A no means we are keeping it as it was originally written. Okay, Haley?
Counselor Milch?
No.
Counselor Neese?
Yes.
Counselor Tracy?
No.
Counselor Reisner?
Yes.
Counselor McMahon?
No.
Counselor Mercero?
No.
Mayor Stemple?
No. All right, so then it's going to stay as item 13, reduce off-street parking, blah, 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 as originally written. All right, so now,
Would you mind if I reviewed those?
Yes,
just
please.
for Haley and I to make sure that we have your intent down.
Yes.
So for number 1, we're going to town center, so we're rejecting the Planning Commission's recommendation.
yes.
For number 3, we are agreeing with the Planning Commission,
Yes.
and we're going with encourage.
Yes.
On number 10, we are not going with the Planning Commission's recommendation, and we are removing the language "without urban renewal money."
Yes.
And number 13, we are agreeing with the Planning Commission, and we are striking...
No.
No. That's why we did that. Okay.
Yep. We are
So-
keeping item number 13 as it was originally presented.
Do you also need a motion for number 2 to delete the?
No, that's typographical. We can...
Okay. So then, now we can go and do the first reading, or do we need to do a blanket approval of...
So the reading, or the motion would be to approve, to adopt the ordinance as amended tonight.
Okay. Would somebody like...
Oh, one more question.
Yes.
The ordinance also includes Exhibit B, the overlay map, which is where we would add a map to our comprehensive plan so that certain rules would apply to the downtown, this identified downtown area only. I think that should also be added to our recommendation. I mean, we talked about 1 through 13. We made no reference to the map, but let's make it clear that this is the map that we're looking at. It's
Okay, so
on page 6-13.
when somebody does the reading, the first reading, include that in the reading. Is that all right? To include Exhibit A as amended and Exhibit B.
Yes.
Do you want me to do the first reading, or does somebody else want to do that? Usually someone else does it, but I can do it.
Ordinance number 1486, City of Gladstone, an ordinance amending the Gladstone Comprehensive Plan and accepting the Downtown Revitalization Plan as a guidance document for downtown Gladstone development, as amended in Exhibit A, and to accept Exhibit B as is.
I'll second that.
All right, so do I need to do a roll call vote for the first reading? Okay. Haley, could you please do a roll call vote?
Counselor Milch?
Yes.
Counselor Neese?
Yes.
Counselor Tracy?
Yes.
Counselor Reisner?
No.
Counselor McMahon?
Yes.
Counselor Mercero?
Yes.
Mayor Stimple?
Yes. All right, it was not unanimous, so this gets carried over till the next meeting for the second reading, which will be, I can't see that far,
13th of March, I think, Mayor?
13th of March. All right. That's all we have to do on
I
that
could
one.
add it to a work session night if you would prefer to go ahead and just get this second reading done, or we
I'd
could
like to
wait.
get it done as soon as possible.
So then I will add it to February 27th.
Okay, so it'll be, the second reading will be February 22nd.
7th.
7th. 27th. All right. Does anybody need to take a break? It's 8 o'clock. We're good? All right, so the next item on our agenda is appointment to Traffic Safety Commission. And we have one applicant who happens to be my father, so I think I need to recuse myself on this one. Linda, do you want to manage this? I'll go sit out in the audience so that I'm off, out of the public target.
I can just stay here.
Yeah, I can stay there. Yeah, it's really up there. I'm sitting here just for this one. Who's doing it? Linda?
Linda.
Okay.
So, what am I doing?
No, we just have an
Yeah.
appointment.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Quiet out in the...
Peanut gallery. All right, we have...
His hearing aid's not working.
We're going to make an appointment tonight for the Traffic Safety Committee. Notice of committee appointments was advertised in the city newsletter on the city's website. As of this date, applicants to the Traffic Safety Commission have been received from Lyndon Nelson. There are 2 vacant positions on the Traffic Safety Commission. One expires 12/31/2019 and the other is 12/31/2020. The Traffic Safety Commission consists of 7 members appointed to 3-year terms by the mayor with the approval of the city council. Applicants must be residents of the city of Gladstone. Appointment to the applicant to the Traffic Safety Commission, the term expires 12/31/2020 or 12/31/2019. Options, and it says, do not appoint Traffic Safety Commission member, continue to advertise for vacant positions. Lyndon Nelson is currently the applicant that we have that he is asking for Traffic Safety Commission. Any discussion?
Normally we would, if we had multiple applicants, we might choose the one who applied earlier for the
Correct.
longer term. At this point, we have 2 possible term end dates, and I think it might be best to just ask the applicant, since he's present, which he would prefer. So, Mr. Nelson, would you prefer to serve through 2019 or through 2020? A 2-year term or a 3-year term?
2020.
Okay. I move that we appoint Lyndon Nelson to the Traffic Safety Commission for the to fill the vacancy of a term ending December 31st, 2020.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, there might be an opposed.
Is there an opposed? Motion carries.
I didn't do it. I had nothing to do with it.
I also think we should continue to advertise because we apparently still have another vacancy, so
right.
we can
Right.
do that as well.
Yes.
For sure.
All right. The next item on our congratulations, Mr. Len Nelson. Next item on our agenda is number 8, the master fee resolution.
Yes, and before we get off committee assignments, I know Ms. Garlington has financial questions, but there's still openings on the audit committee as well. And so if people want to be active in knowing more information, we encourage them to apply and participate. So,
have we received any applications, any new ones for the audit committee?
No, and that's why I just wanted to say that, because I know she's here. So if she's interested, I encourage her to apply. I'm actually very impressed with how far the last year and a half we've come in being transparent about how we're spending our money. This is not something that we enjoy doing, raising utility rates. However, we didn't just do it secretly either. For the last 2 years, we did it through the budget cycle. We were very transparent last September in talking to you as to why we needed to. The city hadn't raised their rates in about 8 years. Our infrastructure is failing us, and so this year you guys took the bold step and implemented them. What you have tonight is a clerical error on our part, and I will take the fault for that, because what a master fee schedule is, and you have this on your dais, this is a menu of prices, of fees. And when we updated our menu to reflect the utility rate increases, we did not calculate it correctly. So that is our fault. So what we want to do is to bring back the master fee schedule that has the correct math on it, and it's on page 5, and you can see the highlighted area there. And I thank you, Councilor Milch, for keeping us on task with this, because we do want to get it right. So tonight you're not increasing utility rates again. You are simply helping us clean up one of our internal calculation errors by approving a resolution that amends our master fee schedule. I appreciate the feedback on where we need to be pushing our professional information, and we did put it in everybody's utility bills. We have put it on social media and the website, but we're happy to continue to do that to get the message out.
Yeah.
So really, with that, this could have been put under consent agenda, but I wanted to be able to admit our error and to talk about it. And so we're just asking you to repeal the former master fee schedule and to approve the new one.
Any questions? Would somebody like to make a motion then?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 1035, a resolution adopting a revised master fee schedule.
Is it?
Mayor,
it's
can I?
1135.
Right, it's friendly amendment 1135.
Excuse me.
So do we need to do a motion to repeal Resolution 1124 first?
If you just want to approve 1135 and by repealing, yes, 1124.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion was made by Councilor McMahon and seconded by Councilor Tracy. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Next item on our agenda is number 9, the City Library Ballot Measure, Resolution number 1133, approving referral to the electors of the City of Gladstone the question of authorizing the library construction agreement with Clackamas County. Steph?
This is actually very exciting tonight, and our city attorney has prepared the memo and the ballot title through numerous revisions, so I'm going to let Ashley summarize for you.
I know the council is pretty familiar with this action item, but for the good of order, I'll go over it pretty quickly. This fall, the city agreed with entered into a settlement agreement with Clackamas County regarding how the city was going to provide library services. And as part of the agreement, we entered into a one library, two building solution with Clackamas County, where Clackamas County would construct a 6,000 square foot library in the city of Gladstone. However, as part of that agreement, the city agreed that we would continue contributing $200,000 a year for library operations, and we would agree to rent this city hall property to Clackamas County for $1 per year. Both of these two items, under Sections 50 and Section 49 of the Gladstone City Charter, need voter approval before they can be effectuated. Section 50 requires that the city seek voter approval anytime you lease park property to anybody, including the county. How Section 50 is written or drafted, this property qualifies as a park because a park could conceivably be put onto it. It is a outright use. So in order to enter into that lease with Clackamas County, the city needs voter approval. The second part, under Section 49 of the city charter, anytime the city seeks to use an estimated $1 million of city funds towards construction or have another party construct a public building, that also needs to have voter approval. There's two aspects of the agreement that could fall under this section of the charter, and that is the $200,000 that the city is agreeing to continue contributing towards library operation, which is indexed to increase each year, and then the value of the lease of $1 per year to Clackamas County. Both of those conceivably, reasonably, are going to be estimated over $1 million throughout the course of the agreement. So in order to continue with the library construction plan with Clackamas County, this is the first step in seeking the necessary voter approval. So this resolution will refer to the ballot and put it in the voters' hands.
Okay. This is it's confusing the way it reads, and I know we understand it because we've been living it. But does the city have an opportunity to get the message out that's clearer? Or is that something the PAC is going to be responsible for?
No, so what you have is your guiding document that will go in the voters pamphlet. However, we're partnering with Clackamas County to do simplified factual messages.
Okay.
And that we'll start planning for next week. That's different than what a PAC wants to do. They can do as simple as vote yes, and I think I can say that before you adopt this. So to answer your question, yes, we're going to have simple factual information coming out on this.
Okay.
I would like to thank the library board for their input in this. They went through it several different meetings and submitted their thoughts, and initially back a couple of months ago, and then some revisions which the city attorney seriously took a look at and actually changed a few things. So I want to thank you and also the library board for their input, and would like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 1133, a resolution approving referral to the electors of the city of Gladstone the question of authorizing the library construction agreement with Clackamas County.
Do we have a second? Oh, excuse me, I didn't even think that somebody was...
I do have a couple speakers.
Oh, my apologies.
Well, then,
Sorry.
here we go. Okay, you want to withdraw your motion, please, so that we can...
Sure.
All right.
Les Poole.
Good evening again.
My apologies.
Not a problem.
Jumping the gun.
In spirit and certainly in getting to the finish line, I support the idea of putting a measure out on the library. A couple of questions and one concern, and that is, it's initially the settlement agreement stated that the county and Gladstone would both put measures out. They've got, I'll call it housekeeping to do. They've got to get an approval to make this work, and that was to happen in May, and now the county is waiting, and I'm curious why we're not waiting and doing it all in November in conjunction with the county vote, because if we vote here now, then we're getting all excited, and then we're waiting, aren't we, for a county vote in November. And I'm not trying to stop the library, but I'm curious why we're in a hurry to get this done now, or if there's some reason that this can happen and not be reliant on what the county does. And I just think we're asking for confusion and maybe getting a little ahead of ourselves. Some clarification on that would help. Comments. The other question this is a little more technical and specific, and I don't know if this is still the case, but do we know if the boundaries of the library district would remain the same?
Yes.
Yes.
Because currently, obviously, I mean, the district is what it is, and it's broken up into sections, and Gladstone's portion is higher than the population that's listed here. Do we know how many people we're actually serving in the Gladstone Library District, and how many we ultimately would be? Would it?
Well, none of that information has changed. I don't have it with me tonight, and we can get that for you.
And just to make it reiterated, because I don't want to complicate this, we have a library district. Currently, Gladstone's service area incorporates more than Gladstone. If we're going to end up with a 6,000 square foot library, and there's going to be 19,000 square feet in Oak Grove, I'm not sure where the equity is. If they were going to be changing the boundaries, I think the math might work better. Just got some concerns about that. It seems vague and ambiguous. I just got a few questions here and things I'm a little bit uncomfortable with, and again, I'm not opposed to us putting a ballot measure when we're ready, so I'm certainly not here saying don't do something. I'm saying, are we ready, and is it really going to make sense to do it now, or should we do it in conjunction with the county vote in the fall?
Okay, thank you.
There's no county vote in
right,
the fall.
Okay.
Right, I
Well,
was going to ask,
that's
I'm
what I
confused
was-
as to the county vote in the fall, because there isn't one.
Right.
But
Okay, but they referenced it originally, and so...
So you have another item on your agenda tonight that Mr. Poole might, if you'll understand
Okay,
clear.
because like I say, I might be mixing the two together there.
Yes. So actually, the city is the next step. The county is waiting. We have to do this in May to see if we can go on to the next phase. And we can talk about the other item there, but it has nothing to do with us waiting for the vote or not. We are more than ready to put this on the May ballot, and we have to, according to our settlement agreement, go forward with that vote.
Well, I've seen many a settled agreement that was amended or modified, and again, I'm just concerned about some of the equity here, some of the numbers, and I think that when we put a ballot measure out that says this is what we're going to do, we're going to be hard pressed.
Okay, thank you.
So the question as to the boundaries and how that's financially going to work out should be addressed before we go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I respond? I think the terminology that our city attorney used, a one library, two building solution, really kind of says it. The library district is unchanged. It continues to consist of the 12,000 residents of the city of Gladstone and the approximately 39,000 residents of the what's termed the Oak Lodge area. And the library, to be constructed in two separate buildings, will provide square footage that is in direct proportion to the population of those two regions. The unincorporated citizens, their population was used as a determination of a size for that region, and the population of the city of Gladstone was used to determine the size of a building in this region. Anyone can visit any of them, just as we're all part of the entire Clackamas library system and can use all of them. But the equity is built into the size on the basis of population. And so you raise the question of where the equity is, and I think in the agreement it was designed specifically to be sure that no one felt they were getting a smaller library or a larger library than the population of that portion of the district deserved.
Yeah, all of that information will be coming out when we're doing the messaging, so.
Well,
And
again,
it'll be-
I know we're
Thank
over
you.
time, but
It's also available on the website,
already out
so
there.
Yeah,
maybe
it's already out there,
yeah,
so.
but again, the
that.
service area is not the city of Gladstone. The service area, you know, I understand everything you've said,
Okay,
but
we
you're
have
missing
other-
my question.
All right. then
Mr.
you-
Poole, we have
then-
someone else that needs to speak also. Thank you. Next.
Kevin Johnson.
Kevin, sorry, I didn't mean to
right.
try to... Okay.
He just got excited and just
Yeah.
kept going forward.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Kevin Johnson, Gladstone. I understand why it has to go on the ballot, but I'm also concerned about the timing. And maybe I can get some clarification. The reason the county is on your next, or item 11, wants to amend their agreement is to have time for them to change the master order of the library district. Is that correct? Okay, so until, and the reason they have to do that is because the way it is now, library district funds can't be used for construction. So until that gets changed, the vote you want to have in May means nothing. And in fact, the vote we should have should be after they change their master order. Not even at the same time, because we don't know, until it's changed, you don't know if you can do anything with that money. They may not be able to give it to you. So, to have a vote in May and spend a bunch of people's time and money trying to do, oppose it or be in favor of it, is just a waste of time and money. Because until the master order at the county level is changed, you're not going to get the money no matter what Gladstone votes. That's it. Is that correct?
So Ashley Driscoll, City Attorney's Office. So this goes back to how the settlement agreement with the county reads. So the ideal situation would be that the two building, one library solution goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain contingencies that would come into effect if any of these different moving parts are not don't work out.
Sorry.
And if, for instance, the master order doesn't get changed, or if the county isn't able to hold up their end of the settlement agreement, the city is entitled to a financial settlement in order to move forward with a alternative library plan. In order to, under the settle agreement, in order to be able to collect that, we have to have an affirmative vote. We have to be able to show that we held up our end of the bargain by moving forward with this, with these authorizations.
And our piece came first.
No,
Yeah.
but they were coming at the same time, and now the county wants an amendment to extend their time. I think you should do the same thing. I mean, it makes no sense. Why are we having a vote that could mean nothing?
Well, and I would say they might argue the same thing. Why should they have a vote in November that would mean nothing if the citizens of Gladstone were to defeat the ballot measure that takes place in May? So, from their point of view, they want the assurance that the citizens of Gladstone support the settlement agreement, and they will take on their part of that agreement, which is to get approval from the cities in the county for the amendment of the master plan. So, they're going to be, the two are going to happen in sequence, and one is going to happen before the other. And the way we've worked it is, we're going to go first, and they're going second.
Yeah, so it has to start somewhere.
So Councilor Milch is 100% correct. So again, how the settlement agreement is written, if we do not have an affirmative vote, the city is on its own for providing library services. So we have to have an affirmative vote in either to move forward with this plan that is laid out in the settlement agreement, or to be able to collect the settlement from the county. So if we go second, and let's say that theirs fails, then the city's not as positively positioned to be able to do that.
All right. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Nope. All right. Would someone like to make a motion? You can continue your motion now.
I'll give it another try. So I move that we adopt resolution number 1133, a resolution approving referral to the electors of the City of Gladstone the question of authorizing the library construction agreement with Clackamas County.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilor Reisner and seconded by Councilor Milch. Do we have any further discussion?
I get a question. I have been assured that we're going in the right direction. And I will use some maybe rather harsh language, but in reference to what past Councilor Kevin Johnson just said, okay, the county has lied to us in the past, in my opinion. No other councilor told me that. I said it. And we're feeling that everything is going in, and Jackie, you've done everything in the right manner to make this a positive exchange of ideas and such with the county. Is what Kevin said going to be an issue, or is it going to be possibly an issue? I have been told no. Everything is wonderful in the county land with us.
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that because we're all fulfilling our obligations in the settlement agreement, and we're working towards this 2 library, 1 district solution.
Yeah, where's the lie in there? I mean, I don't understand. It's all written down. It's agreed to.
The reason why, and now we're mixing 2 items here, but the reason why we're allowing the county to have more time is because we didn't want a group of citizens in the unincorporated area to do a citizens initiative that might oppose our ballot measure in May, and so it behooves us to get us to put ours on the May ballot first so we don't have that contention.
Okay.
And then we allow the county to work through the master order and the IGA discussion, and in the meantime we're also working with that group of citizens to see if we can have some solutions to amending the master IGA so that they won't want to have an initiative. That's what the time allotment is for on the other item.
Okay, any further discussion?
I think we should clarify, what's the net? If the county goes no, what's our net then? I mean, we have to have, there's ups and downs on this with regard to finances. I mean, you want to talk about a convoluted process. This is a convoluted process. What's our net? I thought we had a number. There's a figure there.
$160,000, and it's very public, very open, and
right,
numerous whereases.
So that's what we get if, in fact, Citizen Johnson's point is correct
if the county fails, we get $360,000.
That needs to be said over and over, and it needs to be clear to our citizens so that they understand what we get at the end of the day if the county decides or if their voters decide to go the other direction. Correct? I mean,
it's in every document that I have published and put out there. That dollar figure is.
I'm not challenging that.
It.
I just. That's the net. That's the final net.
And part of the reason why we only are supporting the amendment in the other item is because it has no financial impact on our settlement agreement, to make sure that we still get the money that we are agreed to if something from the county's obligation is not fulfilled.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion?
Jackie, you've answered my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. The next item is number 10, which is resolution number 1134, approving referral to the electors of the City of Gladstone the question of authorizing the city to sell surplus property. The Rainey Collector Site, 16475 Main Street, Oregon City.
Yeah, so this is really the next step in this process. In December, the council declared the property as surplus, and because of measures 505 and 506, the next step is for us to refer this to the ballot and allow the citizens to vote on whether or not we sell the property. And if that approves, then there'll be another step where we come back to the council if we get an offer on that property.
I thought we were going to do both pieces of property. We opted to just do the Rainey Collector for now.
No, the other one's outside the city, so you don't have to put that one to a vote.
Well, that makes it simple then. Any discussion? Would someone like to make a motion?
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 1134, resolution approving referral to the electors of the city of Gladstone, the question of authorizing the city to sell surplus property.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Counselor Tracy, seconded by Counselor Neese. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Next item is number 11, amendment to the Clackamas County Gladstone Library Settlement Agreement. Consider approval of amendment number 1 to the settlement agreement between Clackamas County and the City of Gladstone.
Ashley Driscoll again, City Attorney's Office. We discussed this one just a few minutes ago, but as a recap, we entered into a settlement agreement with Clackamas County in order to provide our one library, two building solution. Subsequently, the Clackamas County has asked if we could amend the settlement agreement to make their required votes or amendments not in May but in November. City Attorney's Office took a look at the settlement agreement, and as Ms. Betts said earlier, there is no financial impact on the city by agreeing to this amendment. It simply allows them to more time in order to effectuate their amendments. Again, we are entitled to the same financial settlement if they are unable to do that, which is $360,000. It's just a change in when they would have to do that.
Do we have any discussion? Any yellow cards? No.
Well, Kevin Johnson wrote 9 and 11 on his. Okay.
Good.
Then I move that we approve the recommended changes to the settlement agreement between Clackamas County and the City of Gladstone as outlined in Amendment Number 1 to settlement agreement, which is attached.
I'll second that.
Motion was made by Counselor Reisner, seconded by Counselor Neese. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Whew. The next item is the update from our school board representative, Steve Stewart. You know, maybe we need to put you first. You guys first on the...
Please.
Yes, please. Come on up.
You already. My name is Steve Stewart. I am sitting school board member chair 4. I've been there just since the summer. I've got 2 years position there. Lived here for 20 years. I also coach the high school robotics team. Been associated with that for 5 years. So, update. You know, things. We've got some good news. Our graduation rate is up. We had an increase. So it is 5-year high. So that's good. The other thing is that what is going on in discussions right now is getting trades back into our high school curriculum. So figuring out a way to bring electrical engineering, construction, and also some you know, talked about welding and some other trades and stuff that we need to start bringing back in, because the public so far that we've heard has been asking for that. And also, you know, we talk about partnerships with the local communities and businesses and stuff, and that is what they're asking for as well. As we all know, you know, we've always been pushing our kids for college. Some aren't going to college, and reality is we're a blue-collar community, and we need to help those students as well. So that's it I have for a report. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of them.
Is that going to include wood shop?
Wood shop is fully functioning right now.
Oh, is there?
Kristen's in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. When did you bring that back?
2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Didn't know.
and that's the next progression of that is construction. So Mike Leone, the teacher there, he has started a construction program this year. So they're building sheds. They're building 10 by 10 sheds.
And a doghouse.
And doghouses as well. We're looking out to the community for different opportunities for internships and possibly positions for our kids during their junior or possibly their senior summers.
And we've been talking about ramping up a construction tech program to start rehabbing houses.
Correct.
For maybe affordable
early
housing
stages,
stock.
yeah.
Yeah, looking at what some other school districts have done. and they've done some amazing things. So, what we have done is, for all of you out there, is we've made a commitment with the school board that we're going to share representatives at each of our meetings so that we can start working together with the school district instead of being, strangers, passing in the dark. But what I have done what we have done is Michael Milch, here at the end, Counselor Milch, is going to be the liaison with the school board. We're all going to participate, but that way you all have one contact. If you guys have any questions or ideas, I'd like to know where we are with getting the students more involved with our committees and boards. Have we done anything additional on that?
We have the youth program, and so I need to bring that forward.
Okay.
Talk to Brad Kuntz. He's charged the ASB. He'd be the one that would be.
We've had discussion.
Signing the students, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Today I did mock interviews at the high school, and there was 2 women, young ladies, that want to go into journalism, and the high school does not have a newspaper. So they are going to contact Haley to see if they can help with our city newsletter. Try and get some more partnerships going. So
yeah, we're constantly looking for things to get the kids more involved in the community, and also get the community more involved in the school. I was really impressed with the turnout that you guys had here earlier. I wish we had that kind of turnout at our school boards. Well, people want to complain, but they don't want to come up front and say anything. So
yep.
I probably overstepped myself right there, but
it's true.
That's the truth.
Completely true.
So.
Well, thank you very
much. And on
much.
that line, you're meeting tomorrow night, is that correct?
We're meeting tomorrow night at 6:30.
That's your regular meeting up at the district building on the campus of the middle school.
Of the middle school, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for agreeing to this partnership. It's going to be wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, so do we have any business carried forward?
So in your packet, I put a copy of the statutory provisions for executive sessions. That's just for your information and for the public's information. And when we have an executive session, we have to cite the reasons why. So I wanted you to have that. The only question I had for council is I sent you an email yesterday in regards to Larry and Sharon Reimers, who are having a code violation issue in their neighborhood, and they want to know when the city council is going to consider code amendment revisions again. And I was honest with you, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I do not have it scheduled, and if you want me to make that a priority, or if you tell me spring, summer, fall, let me know so I know when to get that back on an agenda for us to talk about.
Can we think about it and get back to you?
If you want to send me an email, and then I can let you know what the majority decides. But really, that's where it is right now. We do not have anything further scheduled at this time.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we need to make that decision tonight, but we need to definitely think about when we want to start relooking at those. Anything else? Business carried forward?
No, thank you.
All right, so we're going to adjourn to the Urban Renewal Agency. Do we want to do business from the council now, or would you rather we just wait until after the Urban Renewal Agency meeting? Can we just wait and do that afterwards? All right, so then I would like somebody to make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
Mayor, I'd like to make that motion that we adjourn the regular meeting and go into our Urban Renewal Agency meeting at 8:40.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, our regular meeting has been adjourned at 8:40, and we're going into our Urban Renewal Agency meeting. First item is number 13, approval of the August 8th, 2017 Urban Renewal Agency minutes. Do we have any discussion? Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I second that.
Motion was made by Councilor Neese, seconded by Councilor Mercero. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is number 14, approval of resolution UR63, authorizing certain city officials to withdraw transfer funds from Oregon State Treasury on behalf of the city. Do we have any staff?
No, pretty straightforward. We're just updating our signatures on our accounts for urban renewal.
Do we have a motion, or actually, do we have any discussion? Would someone like to make a motion to approve UR 63?
Mayor, I'd like to make that motion that we approve resolution number UR 63, resolution authorizing certain city officials to withdraw transfer funds from Oregon State Treasury on behalf of the Gladstone Urban Renewal Agency.
A second.
Motion was made by Councilor McMahon, seconded by Councilor Tracy. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Next item is number 15, approval of resolution UR 64, designating U.S. National Association as the city's designated depository and authorizing certain city officials to withdraw funds. Staff?
Same, just for a different account. This one's for U.S. Bank.
Any discussion? Someone like to make a motion to approve UR 64?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution UR 64.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilor Neese and seconded by Councilor Milch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. So then we had, I guess we'll just do business from the council under the Urban Renewal Agency, if that's all right. So we don't need to adjourn out of that. So business from the council. I need to do like a hat and pick names out so I can do it in different. Okay, so you had to go last time, so you get to go first this time.
At the moment, I don't have a lot to discuss. So I'm glad that we're moving some things forward. There is a lot of talk out there, and Citizen Garlington knows that next door is a platform, and we do follow that. I would encourage the citizens, though, to actually really approach us. Misinformation doesn't work. It's never going to, never will. It's something that, I mean, I've said it before, we get spun off into these narratives that just aren't, they're just not factual, and they're not supported by empiricism. I'd appreciate, especially when we're talking about the city and where the city's going and what the city's doing, that the facts get out there. And this is why I know it's frustrating, but I keep harping on, make sure we say it 1,000,000 times. We're going to have to, because it's the only way that you can message. And this is a city of 12,000. This isn't a city of 12 million. So the percentages, the ratios are there. Let's talk to folks. Let's get folks. And I encourage Citizen Garlington, have folks come and contact us directly. We're accessible. I'm at the coffee shop. I'm on the street, and there's a lot of folks who know my number. So what I'd like to say is basically we've got to get back to the facts and stop spinning this stuff out. And that's at the citizen level. That is part of the responsibility of participating in a democracy. So I appreciate the input, but it's a lot more productive input when it's actually factual. So thank you, guys.
I think a lot of you have our phone numbers. At least a lot of you have my phone number.
I've gotten some emails.
A lot of people. Councilor Neese.
February the 21st, the Clackamas Community College is doing a roundtable discussion, and it's at 7:30 at the college. I will send the information over to Jackie. I had a meeting with them today, and it's an opportunity to help develop businesses and and with workforce. So,
awesome. All right, Councilor Milch.
I saw an article in the, at least the online edition of the Clackamas Review, that'll probably be in the print edition, if it isn't already, about a new building going in downtown Oregon City, near the corner of 10th and Main Street, across from the Dutch Brothers Coffee, where you can no longer make a left turn in from 10th Street.
Yeah.
And one of the things that excited me about it was a building with 2 retail buildings on the ground floor, and I think they're proposing now 36 apartment above it, a 4-story building, which would only be allowed in this city if there were sprinklers on the 4th floor. That's the way you get by the, above the 35-foot limit in our current code. And that might not work, that particular building won't work, but what appealed to me in what I read was that as a condition for buying the property, the developer had to have meetings in the community with citizens to really decide what the shape of this building and the size and other things were going to be. It's the kind of sort of proactive involvement from the city that I'd like to see much more. And now that we've kind of taken the steps to adding the downtown revitalization to our comprehensive plan, I know that what happens from this point on is going to be very small increments of some public involvement and some private involvement and a little bit of back and forth. And it's something that really needs heavy involvement from citizens to be sure that we're taking the steps to get things that are compatible with existing designs and that really satisfy most of the members of the, as many of the members of the community as we can. We're not going to just let a developer come and say, this is what I hope to do and take it or leave it, but we'll kind of plan it comprehensively ourselves.
Thank you. Councilor Mercero?
I do not have any more discussion.
Councilor McMahon?
Last week I was at the Rynearson Pond wetlands, and there was a group of folks from NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. They were having a conference or something, and a couple of the higher-ups from Washington, D.C. were in town, and they'd heard about it, so they toured all the work that has gone on. They are 80% done, even though they don't have official approval from the Superfund Trust yet, but they are 80% done. NOAA was pretty excited, and that's a good thing because they're all involved with that, so that was a good tour.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Councilor Reisner?
Nothing.
All right, well, I thought Councilor McMahon was going to mention this, but there is a Rynearson-Olson wetland cleanup this weekend, Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon, and anybody that wants to participate, dress appropriately, wear rubber boots and rain gear because it might be kind of nasty outside. We're going to meet at the Senior Center at 9 a.m. There's not that many of you here, but get the word out. We're going to put it all over. And I want to thank whoever's putting hearts on the holiday tree. That's awesome. Thank you so much. The next holiday is what?
Tomorrow.
St. Patty's Day. So get the word out. We need
Ours Valentine's.
Well, but they have the hearts. So the next one, we got to get prepared for the next holiday. I was going to bring up the issue of the senior center fees because I'm having a little heartburn over some of our requirements, insurance specifically. So I've been pulling information from all of the other senior centers in our area. So I'm going to wait on that one and pull more information together for you all to look at. I think that's all that I have, other than to thank everybody for being here, spending your Tuesday. Oh, and pray for snow. There's snowflakes on the weather forecast a couple days out, so pray for snow. What? I'll go in. If it's snowing, I'll be out there clean. Absolutely. We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion, we adjourn.
Second. Motion was made by Councilor Neese, seconded by Councilor Reisner. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting was adjourned at 8:48 p.m.